We've been talking about pop songs and how it's hard to see that when looking at the form-fixed poets like Michaud, Chaucer, even Charles of Orleans, that these were once pop songs, but they really are. They're very sophisticated pop songs, as I've said in the last video. And Charles of Orleans' book is a very sophisticated concept album. Now, popular verse, which we're going to look at today, is the closest to popular songs that we have today. These are comparable to the Taylor Swifts and the Kanye Wests of the medieval period. Now, like most popular verse, it seems to reflect on the values seen in more poetic French verse, such as notions of love, like in Alison, which opens with the locus amoenis, right? Between March and Avril, when spray or little twigs beginneth to spring, the little fowl or birds hath her will on her leod her songs to sing. Ich lebe, I live in love longing, for some locust of all things, for the most beautiful or most seemingly beautiful of all things. Heyo, she may me bliss bring. Ich am in her bow dawn. I'm in her bow dawn. That means abandonné. I've been handed over into her power. Here's the refrain. And Handy hap, by lucky happenstance or chance, ich habe ibent. I have been taken or captured. I'm her prisoner. That's a medieval pop song, right? It's springtime, birds are singing, and that I that's always in every single song, the famous lyric I, as they call it, of lyric poetry, finds himself, that I, again in love longing. Plus, he's being held like a prisoner by the best girl ever, Alison. In the third stanza, we even get love sickness, another topo. So we're seeing tons of topoi. Night is when I wend and wake, when I'm tossing and turning at night. Forth thee, therefore mine wong is my cheeks wax and wane. I'm going pale, right? Love sickness. Love thee, lady, all for thine sake. Longing is he lent me on. Because of you, I'm just love longing. In world nis none so witter man. There's no witter, cleverer man, wittier man than all her bounty tell can. There's no smarter person than him who can talk about her beauty. Her swire, her neck is whiter than the swan, and fairest maid in town. And then we're the refrain again, and Handy hap, by a lucky chance, ich habe hent. I've been captured. Now, I say him because the lyric I is usually gendered as masculine in love lyrics in the Middle Ages, although we saw an example by Christine de Pizan and Chaucer, remember the Complaint of Venus, that the I can also be feminine. But then it has to be clear grammatically. We have to find some sort of marker that designates it as feminine. Oh, we got a car here? That doesn't mean, however, you should solely look at love lyrics of the Middle Ages as male poetry, because the I is always universal and general enough that you can occupy its locution. Pop songs work like this. Taylor Swift sings about, I don't know, some famous boyfriend that she has, but that I is open enough that you can identify with the content of the song, whether you're male or female or whatever. The I doesn't matter, the you doesn't matter, even the he and the she doesn't matter. We'll see that as well in Shakespeare. Now, popular lyrics are also a kind of poetry that you can understand. I mean, if it wasn't written in Middle English, of course. Take a look at the Cuckoo Song. Summer is a-comin' in. Summer's finally here. It's come. Loud sing cuckoo. Groweth seed and bloweth me. And springeth the wood now. The wood is spring. It's full of flowers and new trees. Sing cuckoo. You bleateth after lamb. Those are baby lambs. Loweth after calve, a cow. That's inverted syntax. The cow is lowing after the calf. Bullock or bulls, sterteth. They leap. Buck, those are goats. Verteth. That's farting. Merry sing cuckoo. Cuckoo, cuckoo. Well singest thou, cuckoo. Nuswick. Don't stop, thou never now. That's another inverted syntax. Don't ever stop singing. It's a fun song about the farm world, including a farting buck or male goat. Now, in the Norton Anthology and other textbooks, love in secular popular verse is separated from religious poetry. But in the manuscripts, that's not the case. Usually, religious and secular poems are mixed. It's not necessarily segregated. There's not a church and state separation going on. The manuscripts mix them all together. Let's look at one of the religious poems that I think is very interesting, Adam Lay Bound. It's a marvelous little poem about Adam, the famous Adam and Eve Adam, stuck in hell waiting for Jesus to free him. The medieval church needed to work out the problem of Adam and the Old Testament prophets as they related to Christ as the Savior of mankind. Since Adam and Eve did a pretty bad thing, and because heaven really didn't exist because Christ hadn't shown up to save everybody, and perhaps because Judaism really didn't have a concept of heaven, what were you supposed to do with all these great Old Testament figures like Moses? So they were placed in medieval theology, medieval thought, in a kind of limbo. You see this in Dante's Inferno. They're at the very edges of hell, the first circle in Dante. Now, in early medieval religious poetry, Christ's death is a victory over death and over Satan. That's why he's portrayed in a lot of poems as a knight. What is he, this lordling, the son of a lord, that cometh from the fight with blood-red weed, red clothes, blood-red clothes, so grisly gedight, right? So terribly dressed up, so fair quantist, right? So amazing to look as to behold, so seemlich in sight, so stiffly he gangleth, so boldly he goes, so dowdy a knecht a knight. Or in the Corpus Christi carol, and in that bed there lieth a knecht, his wound is bleeding by day and night. And so, when Christ dies, that moment, very moment that he dies, he breaks open the gates of hell to let out the patriarchs of the Old Testament. In Adam Lay Bound, Adam is patiently waiting for Christ's appearance. Adam lay bounden in a bond. 4,000 winter thought he not too long, and all for an apple that he took, as clerkes finden written in their book. Na had the apple taken been, na had never Our Lady been heaven queen. Blessed be the time that apple taken was. Therefore we moan singin' Deo gratias. Okay, the poem's meter is not isosyllabic, right? Nor is it accentual syllabic, because we're not counting syllables. Its meter is the popular verse. It's the exact same meter you find in Taylor Swift and Kanye. It's 4 beats per line, or if you have shorter lines, 3 beats per line, 2 beats per line, it doesn't matter. But in this case, it is a 4-beat line. That means there are 4 strongs that are treated as the beat. There may be other strongs as well, but those are demoted, along with, of course, you have a variety of unstressed syllables added, okay? What's important is the beat. You can hear it. Adam lay bounden in a bond. The second one's a little trickier because there's so many nouns. Some of them have to be demoted. Let me just go for the simpler one. And all was for an apple that he took. As clerk is finden is demoted, written written in her book. 4,000 winter thought he, 4,000 winter thought he, not too long. You can see that it's 4 beats per line. This is not iambic in the modern sense. We're getting very, very close to an Old English tradition because there is no syllabic count. There's also an aspiration, however, for more poetic effects. Remember, this poet is aware of syllabic poetry because that is the poetry of the period as well. French influences are going strong. And so you see, for example, that the writer is conscious of poetic figures, just like Charles of Orleans and just like Shakespeare. For example, there's epizeusis, the repetition of a word without a space. An apple, written, written, the apple taken bin, the apple taken bin. There's also polyptoton, that repetition of the root of a word. Ebounden, bounden. There's also anaphor, the repetition of a word or phrase at the beginning of the line. Nehad, nehad. And like Shakespeare and Charles of Orleans, there's traductio, the repetition of a word across multiple lines. Apple, 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 apple. That apple, in Latin, is called malum. And you can hear in that word malum, bad or evil. Just like in Spanish, malo, or in French, mal. In the Bible, it's just a fruit. Malum is the perfect word for this forbidden fruit because the Latin word for apple also has within it the idea of some sort of evil or bad thing. It becomes also, you have to think about in this poem, the apple or this forbidden fruit becomes the vehicle that makes possible Christ's necessity. Had the apple taken been, if the apple hadn't been taken, the apple taken been, had never Our Lady been Heaven Queen. Without the apple, we wouldn't have Mary. And of course, then we wouldn't have Jesus. Finally, there's also a Latin reference in the poem's orientation around the Virgin Mary, Christ's mother. Adam's wife is Eve, right? We all know that. In Latin, Eva. But Mary is also designated as the new Eve. Remember, medieval Catholic interpretation is always allegorical and metaphorical. So you can change Eve's status, this Eva, by a turn of letters, and Eva becomes Ave. And Ave, as you know, means hail or greetings. It's the Ave Maria. That's the angel Gabriel's greeting in the famous Hail Mary poem, the Hail Mary prayer. And so you can recognize that through her, Eva turns into Ave and allows for humanity to be saved. Adam lay bounden in a bond. 4,000 winter thought he not too long, and all was for an apple that he took, as clerkes finding written in their book. Ne had the apple taken been, the apple taken been, ne had never Our Lady been Heaven Queen. Blessed be the time that apple taken was. Therefore we mow and sing in Deo gratias. And finally, notice it ends in Latin. There's the Latin Deo gratias. Thanks be to God. And notice that it's the clerks. These are the scholars who are working in their books, doing scholarly work in the Bible. And they are the ones who are interpreting this apple. That ending in Latin will take us to the next video, where we look at trilingualism and bilingualism as a feature as well of Middle English popular verse. Or actually, Middle English poetry in general.
Alright guys, don't forget to like and subscribe and ring that notification bell.